Have you ever tried to read a legal document and felt like you were deciphering an ancient spell? Maybe it was a contract, a lease, or even the fine print on a service agreement. You probably found yourself wondering why it had to be so complicated. Why not just say what it means in plain English? Well, it turns out there's a reason for this complexity, and it's not just about precision or tradition. It's about power. That's right, legal jargon might actually function like a kind of a magic spell designed to convey authority and exclusivity rather than clarity. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, my YouTube channel, where I share my journey around the world through life, crossing the human spectrum from high to low, as most people in American society define high and low. This channel is all about inspiring common people to find their power. Now let's dive into this fascinating idea called the magic spell hypothesis. Researchers at MIT have been studying why legal documents are written in such an incomprehensible style. They've discovered that the complexity isn't just accidental or a result of tradition. It's intentional. Legalese, as we call it, is deliberately crafted to sound authoritative and powerful, much like rhymes and archaic language used in magical incantations. Think of phrases like double double and toil and trouble or abracadabra. Those words don't just communicate, they perform. They signal something extraordinary is happening. Legal language works the same way. The research team analyzed millions of words from legal contracts and compared them to other forms of writing, like movie scripts, newspapers, and academic papers. What they found was striking. Legal texts consistently use long sentences, passive voice, and specialized terminology that make them harder to understand. This isn't just about being thorough or precise, it's about creating a sense of ritual and formality. The complexity itself becomes a signal that what you're reading is important, binding, and not to be questioned. To test this idea further, researchers conducted experiments with non-lawyers. They presented participants with pairs of legal text, one written in traditional legalese and another with simplified version, and asked them which seemed more authoritative. Overwhelmingly, people judged the more convoluted text as carrying greater legal weight. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The researchers also tested this with fictional magic spells. When participants were shown two versions of a spell, one simple and one complex, they consistently believed the complex spell was more powerful. This parallel between legal language and magic spells is what gives the magic spell hypothesis its name. Just as wizards used arcane language to cast spells, lawyers use legalese to assert authority and control. The incomprehensibility isn't a bug, it's a feature. It creates a barrier that separates those who understand the language and the initiated, and if you will, from everyone else. But why does this matter? For one thing, it raises serious questions about accessibility and justice. If legal documents are intentionally hard to understand, how can ordinary people navigate the legal system without professional help? This creates an imbalance of power where those who can afford lawyers have an advantage over those who can't. It also undermines the principle that everyone should have equal access to justice. This study also challenges another popular theory about legal language called copy and edit hypothesis. This idea suggests that legalese evolved simply because lawyers kept copying old templates and adding new clauses over time, creating increasingly complex documents by accident. But the MIT researchers found evidence that contradicts this theory. Even when people were asked to write laws from scratch without using templates, they naturally gravitated toward complex structures and dense language. This suggests that the complexity is intentional, not just a historical artifact. So what can we do about this? Well, there's a growing movement within the legal profession to adopt plain language in drafting documents. Advocates argue that laws and contracts can be clear without losing their precision or authority. In fact, studies show that even judges find plain language more persuasive than traditional legalese. Governments around the world are starting to embrace this idea too. For example, the Plain Writing Act of 2010 in the United States requires federal agencies to use clear communication that the public can understand. But change is slow. Many lawyers resist plain language because they believe it diminishes their professional image or reduces their ability to cover every possible contingency in a contract or law. Others simply don't have the time or training to write clearly. It takes effort to simplify complex ideas without losing their meaning. Still, there's hope. Hope for progress. Some courts have started using plain language jury instructions to help jurors better understand their duties. Consumer protection laws in places like Pennsylvania require contracts to be written in plain English so that ordinary people can understand what they're signing up for. These efforts show that it's possible to balance clarity with authority if we're willing to put in the work. The implications of this research go beyond just making legal documents easier to read. They force us to confront deeper questions about power and communication in society. Why do we equate complexity with authority? Why do we trust convoluted language more than simple words? And how can we create systems that empower people rather than exclude them? At its core, this isn't just about lawyers or contracts. It's about how we relate to each other as human beings. Language is one of our most powerful tools for connection and understanding, but it can also be used as a weapon to divide and control. By shining a light on these dynamics, we can start to build a world where everyone has access to the tools they need and to thrive. So next time you cross or come across some legalese or any kind of jargon, take a moment to think about what it's really doing. Is it communicating or is it casting a spell? And if it's the latter, maybe it's time we all learned how to break free from its grip. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.